Welcome to Module 5, Arguments. At some point in time in a writing class, you may have been asked to write an argument or persuasive essay. This means you were tasked with crafting an essay that makes a point and then goes on to logically support the point with an adequate amount of evidence that is relevant to your point. Well, in order to be a critical reader, one who actively questions and thinks while reading rather than just passively decoding words, you must understand how to identify a sound argument. When an author is trying to persuade you, you must recognize his overall point and decide if his support is relevant and adequate. What do we mean by relevant? Relevant means the support pertains or relates to the argument. What do we mean by adequate? Adequate support means there is enough of it. We will look at those terms in more depth in just a moment. However, first we need to discuss the basic structure of an argument. Many students find the argument skill to be very similar to main idea, and this is a valid observation. The main idea is the author's point, which is supported by major and minor details. In order to persuade you, the argument, main idea, or author's point must be supported by details. In fact, the basic structure of an argument is point and support, which looks like this. Although some students can skip an entire semester and think they can still pass a class, colleges should institute mandatory attendance policies. First of all, it is not fair for those students who choose to consistently show up that other students can repeatedly miss class without repercussions. Also, it is not fair to the instructor when students miss an exorbitant number of classes and then expect to be allowed to hand in late assignments and make up tests they missed. Finally, the students who feel they can skip most of the semester and still pass a class are fooling themselves. It is much more beneficial that they show up to class for reviews, activities, and important announcements. The main idea of this paragraph is also the point of the argument, and it is the first sentence. All of the other sentences are the reasons, the supporting details, which are relevant and adequate, and persuade the reader why colleges should do so. Here are some other examples in which there are 4 statements. 3 of them are statements of support, and 1 of them is the point. As I'm reading them, I want you to look at these sentences and see if you can figure out which one is the point. Let's take a look at group 1 first. Students perform better when they are all dressed the same and are not worried about brand names. Instances of bullying are decreased when kids cannot be picked on based on their clothes. Elementary, middle, and high school students should have dress codes. It may be more cost-effective for parents since they do not need to have wardrobes that change with the seasons. Take a look at those 4 sentences again, and remember, see if you can pick which one is the point. The other 3 statements are going to be support. If you think you know the answer, just jot it down for a minute and we'll come back and discuss this group in one moment. Let's take a look at group 2. We'll do the same thing here. There is not enough room on the shoulder for bikers to ride side by side. Pinellas County needs to create more bike lanes. Bikers need more room in case they want to pass each other. The shoulder is not wide enough for this. If a car needs to swerve and there is oncoming traffic, the car will travel to the shoulder and a biker will be hit. Alright, so look at group 2 again and see if you can figure out which letter is next to the statement that is the point, and remember the other 3 statements will be the statements of support. When you think you know the answer, jot that down. Okay, for group 1, you should have chosen C as your point. All of the other statements are reasons why schools should have dress codes. So here, this is our general statement. Middle and high schools should have dress codes. And statements A, B, and D are all reasons why schools should have dress codes. For group 2, you should have chosen B as your answer. Pinellas County needs to create more bike lanes. Statements A, C, and D are all reasons why Pinellas County needs more bike lanes. Now that we know the structure of an argument, point and support, let's look more closely at effective support. Remember that in order to be effective, the support has to be relevant, which means that it pertains to or is related to the point, and it needs to be adequate, which means there is enough of it. For example, let's say that I'm arguing that a college degree is useful in helping recent graduates get a job in their field. I'm going to show you some statements, and you need to choose which ones are relevant to that point. You're going to want to look for more than one, since if we only had one statement, that would not be adequate. So once again, here's the point. A college degree is useful in helping recent graduates get a job in their field. Let's look at the statements and see which ones are relevant because they pertain to our point. Number 1, students are likely to meet their spouse in a college classroom. Number 2, a college degree is frequently a minimum requirement for employment. Number 3, many colleges have career centers that will match recent graduates with employers. Number 4, students in college often find themselves overwhelmed with debt upon graduating. And number 5, some college professors will introduce their students upon graduating to fellow experts who work in the field. So once again, we're trying to make the point that a college degree is useful in helping recent graduates get a job in their field. And you need to look at these 5 statements and see if you can choose which ones are relevant to our point. Do you think you found 3 of them? Let's take a look at these statements in a little more depth and discuss why or why not they are relevant. Our first statement is, students are likely to meet their spouse in a college classroom. Well, that's a nice bonus for attending college, but it's not going to help anyone get a job, so you shouldn't have chosen the first statement. The second statement said, a college degree is frequently a minimum requirement for employment. Well, that makes perfect sense as relevant support. If a college degree is a minimum requirement and I have one, then the degree increases my chances of landing a job. Number 3 said, many colleges have career centers that will match recent graduates with employers, and that also makes sense as relevant support. If my college's career center will help me out when I graduate by matching me with employers looking to hire, then that's another reason why a college degree would be useful. Number 4 said, students in college often find themselves overwhelmed with debt upon graduating. And that is certainly not relevant support for my point. In fact, one could argue that loan debt is a reason why some students should not pursue a college degree. So you should not have chosen that one. Number 5 said, some college professors will introduce their students upon graduating to fellow experts who work in the field. And that is relevant because networking like this will allow me to meet people in my field who may be able to hire me or introduce me to the people who could. Okay, now let's take a look at support in paragraph form. The point of the following paragraphs will be stated in the first sentence, but there will be one sentence in each paragraph that does not support the point because it is not relevant. So as I'm reading the paragraph, see if you can spot it. Once again, your main idea or your argument is going to be the first sentence, which I've bolded for you, and as we're reading the paragraph together, you want to look for the sentence that does not support that point. While many people are looking for the next fitness craze, a basic push-up is still one of the most effective exercises for your upper body. A basic push-up engages many muscles. Your core is engaged when you are in the initial plank position, and as you lower down and then push up, you will feel the muscles in your abdominals fire. A push-up will not do anything for your lower body, so be sure you add some squats and lunges to your workout. Your chest is a large muscle group that gets a workout during a push-up, but it needs the assistance of smaller muscles like triceps and shoulders, so your whole upper body really gets sculpted when those little muscles kick in to help. Varying your hand placement will help target these muscles of your upper body in a different way every time you do a push-up. Finally, if you do enough push-ups at a quick enough pace, you will feel your heart rate rise, so that you will also get to work on your cardiovascular fitness when doing all of those repetitions. So once again, we are arguing that many people are looking for the next fitness craze, but a basic push-up is still one of the most effective exercises for the upper body. Did you see a sentence that does not support that point? In other words, it's not relevant or related? Okay. The statement that a push-up will not do anything for your lower body, so be sure you add some squats and lunges to your workout, That's the statement that you should have chosen that is not relevant. We're not really concerned about the lower body in this paragraph since we're arguing that a push-up is great for your upper body. All of the other support is adequate since I explained more than one way a push-up is an effective upper body exercise, and all of that support is relevant since each detail is telling you why, but this statement here about your lower body doesn't have anything to do with the upper body. So that was the statement that you should have chosen as not being relevant. Let's take a look at another paragraph. We'll do the same thing. The main idea is bolded for you in the first sentence, and as we read the paragraph, see if you can find the one statement that does not support this point. Many people reach for juice when they are thirsty, but this is a poor nutritional choice. First of all, fruit juice contains a lot of sugar. Yes, there is fructose that naturally occurs in fruit, but fruit juice contains added sugars to make the juice taste sweeter. This means that consuming fruit juice adds unnecessary sugar and calories to your diet. Also, fruit juice does not contain the fiber that a piece of whole fruit would provide, so not only are you missing out on an important nutrient when you opt for the juice, but all of that added sugar and no fiber means you will probably start to feel hungry and crave more sweets relatively quickly. However, some health experts recommend a juice high in vitamin C, like orange juice, as a way to ward off or reduce the duration of a cold, and some people do feel like drinking juice helps them feel better when they are sick. Once again, we're arguing the first statement, which is also our main idea, and that is that many people reach for juice when they are thirsty, but this is a poor nutritional choice. The last sentence of this paragraph down here states, however, some health experts recommend a juice high in vitamin C, like orange juice, as a way to ward off or reduce the duration of a cold, and some people do feel like drinking juice helps them feel better when they are sick. That's the statement that is not relevant to our point. That's a reason why fruit juice may be good for you, so actually it contradicts my point. All of this other statement in here is adequate, and it is relevant because it explains why choosing to drink fruit juice may not be the best option. So, what have we learned about argument? We learned that argument is a lot like main idea and supporting details. The structure of an argument is that the author makes a point and then goes on to support the point. But in order to be truly effective and persuasive, the support needs to be relevant, meaning that it pertains to the point, and adequate, meaning that there is enough of it.